Of the top 10 grossing animated films, nearly half is Pixar, with the rest being other Disney films and the Despicable Me franchise. And of the top 10 rated animated movies of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes, 7 of them are Pixar movies. Pixar movies are clearly one of a kind and they hold a special place in my heart, so to do my own list of top 10 animated films, I decided to exclude Pixar from the running. Now don't worry, I'm going to do a Pixar ranking video to make up for this. There are just so many other stories that I think are worth talking about. So today, I'm going to share my list of top 10 non-Pixar animated films. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Hoodwinked. Hoodwinked retells the famous folktale Little Red Riding Hood as a police investigation using flashbacks to show multiple characters' points of view. Riddled with quick and silly humor, the story unravels into a curious mystery filled with whimsical characters and some of the best voice acting I've ever seen. Although at the bottom of this list, it probably has the most engaging and funniest story. This is one of those movies you don't want to judge by its looks. In today's standards, it might look like a wannabe knockoff of a better story. However, when it came out, it offered something new and unusual, and in my opinion, it paid off tremendously. It's on Netflix currently, so if you haven't seen it yet, it has my recommendation. In the number 9 spot, I have Lilo and Stitch. I'm sure we all know this movie and can agree that it deserves a spot on this list. It not only delivers a wacky tale filled with an evil alien scientist and his genetic experiment, but it also brings a ton of heart and emotion, as Disney does best. The visuals will outstand the test of time, and the soundtrack really puts you into that atmosphere of the Kauai Island. I still find it to be one of the funnier Disney films, and the use of Elvis always puts a smile on my face. The characters of Lilo and Stitch are some of my favorite Disney characters of all time. They are a strong dynamic duo that have such a fun energy about them. I love everything they're in, even the shorter direct-to-video sequels. A lot of people don't know this, but they also had a show that lasted 2 seasons, which took place right after the events of Stitch Has a Glitch and directly tied into Leroy and Stitch, the third and final film. My mom and I would wake up at 5:30 a.m. on Saturdays just to watch this show, as that was the only time it aired for a while, which is probably why none of my friends or schoolmates knew of its existence. Either way, the first Lilo and Stitch has a special place in my heart for kickstarting so many memories for me. At number 8 is Shrek. Shrek is one of the most memed and loved animated movies of my generation. Growing up, it was my and my dad's favorite animated film, and we watched and rewatched the heck out of it. I'm sure you've all seen this film and know it to be a classic animation. However, something you might not know is that it won the first ever Oscar for Best Animated Feature, beating out Pixar's Monsters, Inc., which may seem questionable. However, Shrek elevates some of the oldest tropes in storytelling, such as the damsel in distress, and then turns them on its head. Its wide array of fairy tale creatures contribute to its sort of celebration of the characters, while also putting its own mischievous spin on the genre. Sitting at number 7 is the classic tale of Aladdin. I've always loved this movie. I mean, it's got everything going for it. A hilarious, cartoony magical creature? Check. A charismatic underdog to root for? Check. A gorgeous yet intelligent princess? Check. A compelling and terrifying villain? Triple check. The original songs and soundtrack has gotta be my favorite that Disney has put out over the many decades, and its beautiful and vibrant animation perfectly delivers the fantastic story. And overall, I can say that Aladdin is my favorite Disney princess film. At number 6, I have Kung Fu Panda. Hoi-ya! This is a real special one. Right off the bat when watching, you can tell that this is a truly unique animation. The art style, along with the fact that we are seeing a whole new culture and world in animated form, makes this movie so original and satisfying. The soundtrack is one of the best on this list, adding to that feel of the Eastern world, and the characters are so interesting and hilarious that the hour and a half always seems to fly by when I watch it. The lesson is pretty simple, but given the originality of this film, it works pretty well. I mean, the idea of 5 distinct Kung Fu master animals forming a team of fighters known as the Furious Five is just so ridiculous that it's not. I recently learned that the animals were purposely chosen to represent the 5 animal styles of Hung Ga Kung Fu. The plot centers around the sacred dragon scroll that only the dragon warrior can possess. But when Po, our lead panda, accidentally becomes said warrior, he quickly learns that the only secret ingredient anyone needs is just to be themselves. In other words, the best version of you is the most you can be. Kicking off the top 5 is the infamous, the incredible, the nautical nonsense film, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I'm not joking when I say this film is the gold standard for me when it comes to great animated films. Now hear me out. It takes characters that we all know and love and puts them into a funny and silly grand adventure that utilizes all the characters for what they do best, and then it adds onto it. The musical numbers always make me laugh, and it seems like the art style was more fleshed out, which I really enjoyed. Not to mention, I'm a sucker for when cartoons meet live-action heroes, so there's no doubt that I love the climax of this film. The movie is just as funny as any SpongeBob episode, and ensuring that any fan will have a blast with this one. Moving on to number 4, we have The Emperor's New Groove. Aside from SpongeBob, this is probably the most cartoony movie on this list, and that's actually why I love it so much. It utilizes the craft to deliver a hysterical story that centers around a selfish emperor who goes on the journey with the most patient peasant and learns to be a better person in the end. It is easily one of the most underrated and overlooked Disney films. While its negative reactions from critics heavily comes from the idea that the movie lacks ambition, I have to reply with this. Who in the world goes to a cartoony animated comedy expecting an ambitious movie? Not only do these critics lack awareness, but they also create these unworldly expectations going into a kid's animated film and are unable to separate themselves from their own ego for just 78 minutes. Whew. In all honesty, guys, this is an easy to watch and digest movie that anyone can fall in love with. It is self-aware and has fun doing it so that you can have fun watching it. Before we dive into my top 3, here are some notable films that just barely didn't make the cut and I want to address briefly. Wacko's Wish, The Iron Giant, the Rugrats movie, the Lego Movie, and Robots. These are great films that either push the hilarity or the craft of animation. I grew up with most of these and I just love them so much. Alright, now at number 3 is How to Train Your Dragon. I actually grew up reading the book series that this trilogy is based on, so when they announced the first film, I was ecstatic. And sure enough, when it came out, it delivered a pure masterpiece. The music is phenomenal and does such a great job at putting you into the scenes, whether they be fun flying in the air scenes or sad and emotional scenes. I'm not gonna lie, the flying theme always gives me goosebumps. The visuals are spectacular and still hold up today, but of course, each subsequent movie's effects have only gotten better and better. The story is impactful and captivating, filled with characters you can really latch onto and care about. The franchise is one of the best trilogies of all time and easily puts the first film in my top 3. My number 2 and number 1 are so close that they switch places constantly, but as of right now, my number 2 is Meet the Robinsons. This is another overlooked Disney film that is always able to make me sob. The story centers around a preteen genius, Louis, who resides in an orphanage since his mom left him there as a baby. His newest invention is supposed to be able to show you any memory you have, putting him on a mission to find his mother. However, after repeatedly failing at perfecting it, he decides to give up. That is until a spunky kid, Wilbur, takes him into the future, which forces Louis to learn to keep moving forward. This is one emotional and sci-fi packed ride, equipped with top-notch animation and voice work. Time travel movies are known to be tricky business, however this is one of the few gems that does it well. This is also on Netflix currently, so if you haven't seen it yet, watch it while you can. Last but not least, at the number 1 spot, I have Zootopia. Zootopia is one of the most creative films of my generation. The idea of shaping and presenting the world via animals, who all have their own strengths and weaknesses, is so genius and spot on as a social commentary. They constructed their own utopia that has multiple habitats for all the different types of animals, which makes the story feel really engaging when it puts you into these different regions. The movie tackles deep topics like racial struggles and corrupt government in a lighthearted way, and at the end of the day, it teaches kids to always follow your dreams and don't let what anyone says about you keep you from moving towards them. Even though this is a mystery film, the rewatchability is still way up there thanks to the voice work of Jason Bateman and Jennifer Goodwin and the flawless animation. I always catch something new whenever I rewatch it, and I've seen it at least a dozen times. If you've never seen it before, well, at least you have something to do tonight. So what did you think of this list? And what are your top 10 animated films? Comment them down below and hit that like button if you enjoy this video. Also, please share this video as it really helps the channel, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That's it for now. Thanks everybody.